What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the top pass rushers that are still available that Detroit Lions could potentially go sign from free agency. Let's get it started. Alright everyone, now the Detroit Lions haven't signed a free agent in a while, and some of us are like, oh my gosh, please do something. Now, they may not do something until the season gets closer, you know, when they get to actually see their players, see what they can do, and try to see some weaknesses in the team, and then they may go make a move to try to bolster a unit, especially this year when you need to win football games, so that's what I'm expecting. But you never know. You really never know. We don't know how easy it is to reach out to free agents, stuff like that. Someone made a great point saying that, hey, maybe that's why the Lions haven't signed anyone. Could be. It could be. I think it's because they're waiting till the season, but it could be a mixture of both as well. So I'm going to talk about some of the top pass rushers that the Detroit Lions could potentially bring in still. Now, there's still a lot of guys, so these aren't just all the guys. These are just a few. If you guys have more, let me know in the comments below. I don't want to make this video too long. I just want to name a couple and, you know, kind of go on. And we can do a part 2 if you guys want to. Maybe I'll do a part 2 with what you guys say in the comments below. Anyways, ESPN put out a little bit of an article today, and they talked about some of the best free agent fits. And according to ESPN, 2 writers said that the top free agent fits for the Detroit Lions right now are Larry Warford and Marcus Golden, right? Those are kind of easy ones, right? The guard out of New Orleans who was cut, and then Marcus Golden, who has been available for a while now, coming off of a 10-sack season from New York. Both of them make sense. Those are really the only 2 positions I can see the Detroit Lions going and signing a free agent. Really don't see it elsewhere. Quarterback's good, running back's good, wide receiver's good, you know, safety's good. I think it'll be the front 7, defensive line, defensive end, edge rusher, maybe interior linebacker, probably not, or offensive line. That's really the only place I could see the Lions going. But even offensive line, I really don't see it because I think they're going to trust in them rookies. To trade up to go get Jonah Jackson, I'm assuming he believes that this guy is going to have a good impact. And usually Bob Quinn has hit really well on these 3rd-round picks. So I think he's going to trust him. But I guess if you want to go like a left guard or potentially a tackle, then you definitely could. But let's talk about some of these pass rushers or front 7 players that are still available that the Detroit Lions could potentially still go after. Now, the first one really isn't a guy that I think should be on this list. I just kind of put him here because I thought it was really interesting. That's Adam Gotsis. Now, Adam Gotsis is a defensive tackle / defensive end that was drafted to Denver in the 2nd round. And I don't want to say he's a bust yet, but you could almost say that. 6'4", 287 pounds, so obviously he could play on the D-line. And he was kind of, you know, trying to replace a player that they lost in free agency years ago, but he didn't really live up to that hype. And, you know, he was playing okay. I would say he was doing fine up through 2018. However, in 2019, he was actually benched during the season. He was benched. This is a young player benched during the season, a top pick, and, you know, then he had to deal with an injury after he was let go by the Broncos, which was an ACL tear. So he's, you know, really not in a good spot right now. His numbers are okay, and he's young, so that's really where the confidence may be. But the problem is, you know, that tear, that injury is really, really serious. And he may not even get signed by a team this offseason because he may just try to work himself out, get back into shape, and be ready to come back in 2021. So that could be the case with him. I just thought I would point him out a little bit just because I thought it was interesting. But let's hop on to the next one. Here's where we start getting to realistic players. Unless they sign him, then I would be kind of shocked. But you never know. He would probably be cheap. Starting off with Clay Matthews. Now, this is someone that actually I think they put in the Q&A. They said, hey, I'd go sign Clay Matthews. That was an interesting one. I only looked at Clay Matthews probably one time before that video, and it was a while before. But I looked into Clay Matthews, and I could actually see this being a legitimate option for the Detroit Lions. I have a good feeling that if he was a Lion, it would be awesome to see him stacking Rodgers. Could you imagine, all right, Clay Matthews coming off the edge and just bopping Aaron Rodgers? That would be like the best thing ever, yo. That would be the best thing ever, man. That would feel great.
You know, but that's a football player.
He is 6'3", 255 pounds, so he'd fit well as an edge rusher. The problem is the Detroit Lions don't blitz a ton, so some of these guys, you know, if they're too small, they can't go on that D-line, and then you're kind of stuck, right? Because then, okay, what am I going to do? And if you can't really get on the D-line because they're not big enough, and you're trying to play one role, which is the jack role, but we already have Julian Okwara and Austin Bryant who could be taking that role, but maybe he splits with Julian Okwara or something. I'm not exactly sure. Lions would probably find a way, you know, schematically to fit these guys in if they're talented enough. But either way, Clay Matthews has been a pretty consistent player. You know, we talk about Everson Griffin a lot because of his consistency with getting to the quarterback. I feel like Clay Matthews has that as well, getting to the quarterback. The thing is, he's just a little bit older than Everson Griffin. He is 34 years old, and last season he was with the Rams from the Green Bay Packers. We know about his time in Green Bay. And last season in 2019, he had 25 solo tackles, 8 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. You don't bring in tons of great run stoppers when we bring in pass rushers. It's hard to find a guy that can do both. Those guys are usually really expensive or high draft picks. And because that guys like Julian Okwara, not great at stopping the run, but we brought him in because he's a great pass rusher. And I feel like that's what you're getting with Clay Matthews, a reliable and consistent player. He's not terrible against the run, though. He's really not. I mean, he grades out pretty solid the rest of the years. He's not bad against the run. I feel like the Lions would be able to utilize him fine, and he would be able to be in there in different situations. But I feel like he'd be more of a third down type of pass rusher. In 2018, he had 30 solo tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles, once again with a higher grade against the run. So again, another solid season with solid numbers. He goes from 8 sacks to 4 sacks. Last season, 8 sacks. I know he's 34 years old, but 8 sacks is pretty darn good. And like Everson Griffin, man, if you have numbers like that, it's hard for me to say anything, but you always have to know, you always have to keep in the back of your mind that he could be falling off a cliff whenever, and you really don't know when that time's going to be, and it could be with you if you sign him. And then in 2017, which was kind of that big year for him, he had 27 solo tackles in 2017 and 1 forced fumble with a great grade against the run. Now, what's interesting about him is some people may be getting Mike Daniels flashbacks here. You know, Packers, 2017 was a good year, and then look what he did with us. The one difference I see here is that last season was actually good, 8 sacks. It wasn't like Mike Daniels, who wasn't really good the year before, and he dealt with tons of injuries. He actually had a good last season, so I guess it's a little bit more less risky, I would say. So I think Clay Matthews is a legitimate option. Again, him sacking Rodgers would just be awesome. I would love that as a fan, so we'll see if it actually does happen. Next up, Jabaal Sheard. Jabaal Sheard is an edge rusher from Indianapolis. He's 6'3", 265 pounds. I think this guy's got just enough size to fit in this defense pretty well. He's 31 years old, so he's got that veteran experience, but he's not too old. 31, man. He's still got something left in the tank for sure. Last season, he had 18 solo tackles for 5 sacks. One thing about Jabaal Sheard is consistency, man. There are always consistent numbers. It's usually from 5 to 6 sacks every single season, somewhere around there every single season, and you're kind of just relying upon him to give you that, and he has every single year. And also the great thing about Jabaal Sheard is that he was a New England Patriot for 2 years. So he was with the Patriots in 2015 and 2016. I dropped my blue thing. I'm sorry, y'all. I dropped my whale. But in 2015 and 2016, he was with the New England Patriots. So obviously he's been in this scheme for 4, so he may fit into it quicker. And he's been very, very consistent every single year. Year in and year out, he's putting up consistent numbers. And if you look at the years with the Patriots, obviously he was younger. He was pretty darn good. In 2015, 23 solo tackles, 8 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. And then in 2016, his second year with the New England Patriots, 23 solo tackles and 6 sacks. Again, man, the consistency is there, and Jabaal Sheard can fit in because, you know, we've already seen him fit in with the Patriots defense. But keep in mind, they did let him go after 2 seasons, so maybe that's kind of a telltale. The Detroit Lions won't go after him. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, but I think he's definitely an interesting prospect. Next up, Everson Griffin. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on Everson Griffin because we've talked about him a ton. I'm pretty sure you all know about Everson Griffin by this point, but if you don't, he is a defensive lineman, defensive end out of Minnesota who's 32 years old. Talk about consistency once again. He's kind of old, right? He's kind of old, but he still puts up pretty good numbers, and last season, 8 sacks. Year before, 5.5 sacks. Year before that, 12 or 13 sacks. The numbers are there. The numbers are good, and it's all about technique with Everson Griffin. He did have a couple of scares, you know, years ago, but he seems fine now. And again, if you guys want another veteran pass rusher that you can rely upon, like Jabaal Sheard, Everson Griffin could be your guy. And next up, we're going to go with Terrell Suggs. 37 years old, man. I had to put the old man on here. I thought this was awesome. 37 years old, and this dude is still putting in work. In 2019, 6.5 sacks. In 2018, 7 sacks. And in 2017, 11 sacks for Terrell Suggs. Terrell Suggs had 11 sacks in 2017, man. Hey, the numbers are still there. I just don't know if you want to go sign a 37-year-old. You know, the numbers are there, but 37 years old is kind of old. I'm just saying. Anyways, he'd be more of a linebacker, while Everson Griffin would be more of a D lineman. I'm sorry, y'all. My fridge is on. You can hear that. It turns on randomly. I hate it. Anyways, I'm sorry, y'all. And the final player we have is Vinny Curry.
In March.
Look at Curry, man.
The defensive lineman out of Philadelphia, who is 31 years old. 6'3", 279 pounds. Again, big enough to fit on this D-line. Probably big enough to play both DT and defensive end. So if the Lions want to add to the defensive line a little bit with, again, a proven player, Vinny Curry could be your guy at 31 years old. And again, the numbers are solid. I mean, for that size, you know, you're not going to get usually tons of sacks, but they're still pretty solid. Last season, he actually came off his best season in the last 3 years with 5 sacks. 5 sacks and 27 combined tackles, and he was great in pass rush, graded out incredibly well, near 80. 2018, 2.5 sacks, 21 total tackles, and in 2017, 3.5 sacks and 42 total tackles. So, boom, those are some of the top pass rushers, defensive linemen, front 7 guys Detroit Lions can still go after. That's it for everyone. I'm just going to hop in really quickly here. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the video up to this point. Now, the reason that Jadeveon Clowney is not on here is because I just don't think we're going to pay him that much money, but maybe he'll be in a part 2. If you guys want to see part 2, absolutely leave a like and let me know you guys want to see a part 2 and comment below some other pass rushers. But I don't know. I just didn't feel like putting Jadeveon Clowney in here. I don't know. Maybe he'll be in the part 2, though. And also, I didn't list Marcus Golden because that's what the ESPN thing was about at the very beginning. So yeah. All right. I think I got to go now. Okay. Bye. If you guys want to see a part 2, make sure you let me know in the comments below by hitting the like button and letting me know. Also, give me another player I did not list on this video. There are definitely more out there, so I'm sure you guys can find some if you guys want to. Thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.